if they don't make it to the finals, then this might be one of the biggest L's in NBA history.
Hot topics.
Embiid never had the mentality to win a championship. I don't think he ever will win a championship.
The best analysis.
But Jokic, he might be the best player in the league this season. He really might be the MVP.
This is the Full Court Report.
How we doing, folks?
What up, Justin?
Boy, it's the gang. Justin,
doing pretty
Jorie,
good.
Toby. It's a little something different today. I'm going to be running the show. I'm taking Jorie's job for the day. How are you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Good to hear.
I'm doing real good.
Yeah, I assume you're probably doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Stinking Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Ruining everybody's fun. But
yeah, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, no, we're definitely rooting for the Chiefs around here.
No, we're not.
But that's enough NFL talk. We got a couple bits and pieces of some news here from the last week or so. We're just gonna, you know what? I'm actually gonna switch it up. I was gonna start with that, but I'm gonna start with this. So, on Sunday, January 26th, the NBA world remembers Kobe Bryant. On January 26th, 2020, Kobe Bryant and his daughter, as well as 7 others, tragically passed away in a horrific helicopter accident. Fans, coaches, players were stunned to hear this news, and it led to numerous different types of tributes. We had players who, weren't even signed with Nike, rocking some Kobe shoes. Teams were taking 8-second backcourt violations, 24-second shot clock violations, and, arenas were taking moments of silence. As, most NBA fans are aware, Kobe was a huge influence on, the NBA, the players, and even, people in their everyday lives. And, he showed the world that hard work and dedication can surpass God-given talent in any field. And so I just wanted to take a moment, remember Kobe and his greatness, and just ask you guys, what are some of your favorite Kobe moments throughout his life? This, it doesn't have to be from when he was playing. Just be, why you thought Kobe was that guy.
I'll go first. It's tragic, obviously. This, I think it's one of those moments in life, I think, where you just remember what you were doing when it happened or when you learned the news. I think just like the absurdity of it, like you said, just so out of the ordinary. Obviously, it's just terrible. But I don't know. To me, I was never like a huge Kobe guy. Like, I think I respected him as a player, but growing up, I was a huge idol of like LeBron, or like that was my idol, I guess I should say. I love watching like Kevin Durant growing up, etc. But I don't know. I was just never really. Maybe if I was born a couple years earlier and watched like prime, three-peat Lakers with Shaq, it would have changed my outlook on it. But I think the Mamba mentality is just the folklore behind it is so crazy. And I remember hearing a story of Caron Butler mentioning this on a podcast with Duncan Robinson. So in 2004, this was after the Lakers had lost to the Pistons in the NBA Finals. Kobe, he signed a 7-year, $136 million contract to stay with LA. And I think at the time that was like the biggest contract in league history, at least in terms of like total value, not like per year value. But so again, Caron Butler, he came over that, I guess, off season in the trade that sent Shaq to Miami. So he was, pretty tight with Kobe that year. And he said the second he signed that contract, he turned to Caron and asked him if he was ready to black out. And I think a lot of people in their minds might think, oh, he's probably like wants to party, right? Like he's going to go out and do whatever because he wants to celebrate this huge achievement, this huge contract that he just signed. He said, no, we're going to meet in the gym tomorrow at 7 a.m. Be ready for like the hardest workout basically of your life. And I think, I don't know, there's something to be said, I think, about a guy who signs a contract, again, like the biggest contract basically ever in the league, and is just ready to get right back to work the next morning, like, and grind, like, to a point where they literally, he said, like, they were, doing this crazy workout, and he said he started seeing like stars he like could not see. He was about to pass out. He said then, after that workout, they said they got some food, and then they came back later that day and worked out again to the same basically extent where they almost, passed out. And he said, free agency is in July. That's when like he signed the contract. He said they did that basically every day up until training camp in like late September, early October. So that's like what, 2.5, 3 months of just the most insane. And I think that's just, again, Kobe, his insane determination, his insane like work ethic. I really feel like it's unmatched, really, maybe in sports. But I thought Caron, he had a good line. He said, when motivation runs out, does your discipline like start to kick in? I feel like that's a really good, like, I don't know, just way of like going about life, because I think at the end of the day, a lot of these NBA players are obviously have great work ethics. But I think when it came to Kobe, it was like, I could stop here, but why not run another like 20 miles? Why not wake up at 3 a.m. and get like 1,000 shots up before anyone else is even awake? And I feel like that's just really speaks to his personality, like, again, his work ethic. And I'm sure there's a million stories just like that you could hear, but I felt like that one was pretty interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I could probably, like I said, I could go on forever, but that one's pretty cool.
Let me hear that quote again.
Well, I don't know. It's not really a direct quote, but he said essentially, when motivation runs out, does your discipline kick in?
I like that.
Because
I like that.
That's pretty good.
Obviously, like I said, they're all motivated to go out there, be the best, best basketball player they can be. But at a certain point, you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm ready to go home. I'm an NBA player. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still getting paid for this. I don't think anyone thinks I'm going to be like the greatest of all time, but you got to push through that. I feel like Kobe consistently did that, and that's what made him so great.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Jorie.
Pretty good stuff. I never heard that story. That was pretty cool to hear. But it doesn't surprise me. It's Kobe after all. When I was trying to think of this, I was trying to think of like, some memories I have of Kobe playing and stuff like that. The first memory I could think of that came to mind was, and I looked up the game too. It was February 5th of 2013. It was Lakers versus Nets, because I obviously am a Nets fan. I only watched the Nets. If you didn't play on the Nets, I hated your guts. It didn't matter. And the way I thought of Kobe, I knew he was a legend. I knew he was, great and all that, but he was older. He obviously wasn't as good as he once was. So I did kind of doubt him a little bit. Later on in that game, he gets the ball, he drives, he dunks on Gerald Wallace and Chris Humphries. Same dunk. Like, two super athletic players. This guy is in his mid-30s. And he earned my respect from there on out, because I had just started watching basketball at that time. So that taught me to never doubt Kobe Bryant, because he will surprise you. And we obviously saw that in his last game too, where he dropped 60, which, thank God we were able to watch that. But I think what spoke to me the most about Kobe was his off-court interviews. And that's, I think, where his Mamba mentality really showed. Like post-game conferences, job's not finished. I think that's any athlete can, respect that. I think in one of the post-game conferences, they asked him if anybody's ever beat him one-on-one. And he said pretty seriously, he said, no one's ever beaten me. Like, I'll probably never be beaten. And all the reporters started laughing, thinking he was joking, but Kobe was dead serious, and he's probably right. There's not that many players I think that could beat him in his prime. So, yeah, just the way other players talk about him, like Chris Bosh had said in an interview that I think it was the off season, they were playing for Team USA. He wanted to be the first one in practice. He got up super early before everybody else. And by the time he got like to the gym or whatever, Kobe just finished his first workout drenched in sweat. So I think, I mean, like Jorie said, I don't think there's any player probably in sports that had, as good or better work ethic than Kobe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Kobe all throughout his career, like, when I was first getting into basketball and all that stuff, like everybody was telling me like, oh yeah, that guy Kobe's really good. Like he's a good scorer, but he does not pass. And I mean, he's high up on that all-time assist record or assist list. But I did see, uh, I think it was after he retired, he was doing an interview on like some late night TV show or whatever it was. And he was like, you know, players they come in 15 minutes before practice. As soon as practice is over, they leave. And then they think I'm going to pass them the ball in game. Like, you're not putting in the work to deserve this ball, especially from me, because I'm putting in the work. And I can kind of relate to that sometimes when I'm out playing with you guys. I don't really like passing because you guys don't put the work in like I do. But
Okay.
All right, buddy.
but just real quick, a couple of like clips and stuff that I'm sure most people have seen. Um, when Matt Barnes is taking the ball out on the baseline, like pump fakes the pass right in Kobe's face, and Kobe's just like doesn't blink, doesn't flinch, locked in. And honestly, one of my favorites, and we saw it on, I think, the Redeem Team documentary. He said when they were playing Spain, Kobe was like, first play of the game, I'm finding that guy Pau Gasol and I'm running right through his chest. And this is when him and Pau are teammates on the Lakers. Literally, first game, guy runs right through him, bro. Like, it puts him on the ground. And all the USA teammates were just like, bro, like this guy is really crazy. Like he's really like that. And then you mentioned it for a little second there, Toby. Him putting up 60 in his final game of his career, like doesn't get more Kobe than that, bro. It doesn't get more Kobe than that. So yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. Rest in peace, Gigi. Rest in peace, all those other people that were involved. Terrible thing, still shocking. Like I still can't really believe it. Like
I can't believe it was 5 years ago.
yeah, I mean, dude, he was like a god. Like you didn't think that something like this could happen to someone like that. Like it's ridiculous. But yeah, rest in peace. We don't want to get too down in the dumps. So let's talk about a new record that was broken just the other day on Saturday, January 25th, in a game against Jorie's Denver Nuggets. Anthony Edwards breaks the Timberwolves' career three-pointers made record, which was previously held by Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards is now at 976 made three-pointers, or that's what he was at when he broke the record, and he's just halfway through his fifth NBA season. So I'm gonna combine this into one question. Where do you guys rank Anthony Edwards as an individual player? at this point of the season? And how are we feeling about the Timberwolves as a whole at the halfway point?
All right. I think I don't know if I have like a specific number in mind for Ant, but I said that in my opinion, the players I think that are better and more consistent than Ant, like right now, I guess, are Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Jason Tatum, Wemby, Luca, and LeBron. I think those 7 players. I think they just bring it consistently every night. I feel like they impact the game every single night, whether that be offensively or defensively or both. But I feel like Ant-Man is like right up there in the conversation of like best players in the league. I think he plays both sides of the ball about as good as any guard probably in the league. I think this season maybe a little bit less. I feel like the Timberwolves have kind of taken a step back defensively, but I feel like again that's probably more roster construction reasons as to why. But like you said, I mean, he's first in the league in made threes, and he's shooting 42%, which is a career high this season from beyond the arc. So, I mean, I feel like he's kind of evolving in that sense. But in a weird way, I feel like his finishing ability has kind of taken a dip because of that. Like some of the games that I've watched, I feel like he doesn't, I don't know, he just hasn't been finishing like the way I'm accustomed to watching Ant finish like in the past. He does that. He has this new, I guess, I don't know if it's new. Maybe he started doing it maybe last year, like the deceleration move where he like is driving to the rim and kind of like takes one step and kind of, slows down, I guess, kind of gets the defender up in the air and then he finishes. So that's always fun to watch. But I feel like it's interesting, him becoming like such a prolific 3-point shooter, just given how athletic he is. I feel like that's what makes Ant so great. Is like his rim pressure, his ability to get to the rim constantly. Like to me, he kind of reminds me of like Miami Braun, where it felt like whenever he had the ball, I felt like he could get past anyone who was defending him. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be able to finish through every defender that's behind, whoever he's guarding or whoever he's being guarded by. But I felt like his mixture of like power and athleticism and ball handling as well, I feel like he can really get by anyone in the league. So it's kind of crazy just watching him pull up and shooting this many threes this season at least. But again, I think his playmaking has gotten a little bit better. I feel like his vision is improving. Starting to see the double teams, starting to find some players in tighter windows and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's the Timberwolves as a whole, I'm not really sold on their team right now. I feel like they still have some holes in their roster. Like as a Nuggets fan, like you mentioned, he did this against Denver, breaking the record. As a Nuggets fan, I'm definitely concerned whenever they play because I feel like matchup-wise, they just, I don't know, they're just a really bad matchup for Denver. But I feel like a lot of other teams are going to be able to withstand, I think just their size, right? Like they play a pretty big team with McDaniels and Randall and Gobert. They bring Naz Reid off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is like a big guard. So like they got a lot of size on that roster, but like I said, I think defensively they haven't been what they were last year. I think last year I was like afraid to watch any team play Minnesota. Like it was honestly crazy how good they were, how much like on a string they were. But I don't know. I think right now, I don't know. It's just not looking good in Minnesota. Dante DiVincenzo has been injured, so that's obviously not great. But shout out Rob Dillingham. He's been getting minutes because of that, and he's been fun to watch. So
Very good. It was kind of kind of said the same thing as you, Jory. I didn't give him like a specific place where I'd put him, like in the like rank him or whatever. I just said he was top 10, probably more so 9 or number 10. I think all those the 7 players that Jory mentioned, you know, I would probably take over him. But with that being said, he is what, like 24, 25 years old. So I think his game only gets better from here. Um, he's one of the best young players. I think he's just outside the realm of like, you know, like the level of Luca and SGA and them. But I think, you know, he's a little bit immature, I feel like, in a couple of ways. Um like Jory said, he's, you know, he's been passing the rock around a little bit more, but I think he needs to calm down a little bit sometimes. Like he can go from 0 to 100 pretty quick. Flipping birds off to,
Hmm.
you know, different people. Um he's also having, besides on the court battles, he's having off court battles. He's in a like a court dispute with his ex and all that kind of stuff. So I hope he finds some peace in his life. Um, last time I checked, I think he's leading the league in technicals.
Hmm.
So that's obviously, you know, a sign of how he's been behaving, I guess. But I think I think he obviously has a lot of passion. So I feel like with the right work ethic, he focuses on basketball. He can get, like I said, to the realm of the Lucas and the SGAs, and I feel like one day he'll be competing for an MVP in the league. But with that being said, I feel like the Timberwolves kind of disappointed me a little bit this year, especially with how they played last year, making the Western Conference Finals. They don't look like the same team at all. Obviously, they've dealt with some injuries and all that, but I just feel like looking back at it, I think I said it was a win-win for both teams with the cat trade. I definitely disagree with that now.
Hmm.
The Knicks definitely won that trade for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't see the Timberwolves getting any better unless they make a big splash at the trade deadline. I feel like they're gonna probably be a playing team in the Western Conference and then an early playoff exit to, you know, the Grizzlies or the Rockets or whatever. So definitely disappointed with them this year. I think they're gonna get better uh in the future years, especially if, you know, they're able to keep him long term. Um but yeah, that's how I feel about the Timberwolves.
Yeah, so I'm in the, I got the same thing going on. I said he's easily a top 15 player. I have Tatum, Giannis, assuming everybody's 100% healthy. I have Tatum, Giannis, Embiid, LaMelo, SGA, Jokic, AD, Braun, KD, and Luca. Now, obviously Embiid and Luca have been injured for most of the season. Could maybe make the argument he's better than Braun and AD, maybe. So you could maybe slide Ant into the top 10. But yeah, I think it's really interesting how he's almost like flipped his game upside down, going from, primarily a rim attacking slasher to leading the league in threes. Um, but I think that might be a smart idea because you see a lot of, especially, early in the 2000s or even the 90s, you'd have players who their whole game was athleticism, and then once they hit that certain age where that kind of starts to fall off, they're just kind of like, I don't want to say worthless, but they didn't have, it was very one-dimensional. So I feel like him getting started early on his shot will help him because he, like you said, Toby, he's still young. He's only going to get better. He'll learn, you know, when to shoot, when to drive, when to pass. He'll learn all of this as he keeps getting better. And yeah, he plays both ways. He can, he can kind of do a little bit of everything. So, he's one of my favorite players. I think I'm gonna put them top 10 for sure. But if the Timberwolves were doing better, I feel like you could put them even higher up. Now, with that being said, they are currently 25 and 21, good enough for seventh in the West, so they're currently a play-in team. Um, they've obviously taken a step back, like you guys said, since last year, but I was looking at the roster, and they have a very young team. They only have 4 players over the age of 27, and all 4 of those guys are 30 or older. Um, I think it's Randall, who's 30, Mike Conley, who's an old man, Gobert, who's 32, and I can't remember that 4th guy. But I think they should be very aggressive at the deadline and either bring in some, veterans with playoff experience, CJ McCollum, perhaps. But I was just thinking about it, and I did see earlier that the Kings are taking calls on De'Aaron Fox. So I honestly think if they can keep Gobert, that Ant, Fox, and Gobert could be a nice big 3 for them. Um, like you guys were saying about the cat trade, I kind of feel like that sent shockwaves through the whole organization. Like I don't know if any Timberwolves player, coach, fan, I don't know if anybody saw that coming. You know, being a Knicks fan, I see tons of, Knicks are trading for this guy. This guy says he wants to be a Knick. And I had been seeing those cat trade rumors for probably close to a year. And I wasn't even ready for it. It really came out of nowhere. Like we got the Shams bomb, it just happened. He didn't even say oh, this is what, they're thinking about doing this. It was just yeah, Karl Anthony Towns is a Knick. So I don't know. I feel like getting rid of the franchise player who's been around 7, 8 years, that kind of might just make the players feel some type of way. If I'm you know Jaden McDaniels, they could ship me out of here any day of the week, and it's just you don't want to feel like that. You don't want to have that weight on your shoulders of if they did it to Cat, they might do it to me. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of things are playing into why the Timberwolves aren't playing as well as they did last year. But, I think with Ant on the team, it's not a bad place to get traded to at the deadline. So maybe De'Aaron Fox wants to change the scenery. Maybe they can get some other vets. I think, but either way, they need to be aggressive. I think they need to make some kind of move. And um, they got to get better because you can't go from Western Conference Final to barely being a playing team. But one last thing on Anthony Edwards. At the end of last season, he signed a 5-year, $244 million contract, extending him through the 2028-29 season. And at that point in time, he will be 27 years old. So my question is, do you guys think that he stays in Minnesota through this contract and possibly even for his whole career, or does he look to find himself a new home?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say. Like you said earlier, I mean, De'Aaron Fox, who'd been a staple of, the Kings organization for so many years, is now maybe on the way out. And it just comes at a weird time when they just fired their coach and they all of a sudden started winning again, and now he wants out. So I feel like this NBA, it's hard to really say what's gonna happen, 2, 3, 4 years from now, especially with superstars, because it can really change in an instant. But I mean, like you said, Justin, this team is pretty young still. I feel like they have a young core. Obviously Ant-Man leading the way, but I don't know. I think you can build around guys like McDaniels and Naz Reid, who's, former six man of the year. Like I mentioned earlier, Rob Dillingham, who the Timberwolves, I think, traded up for. I'm pretty sure he went in the lottery, but, you know, I think that's a good sign for like Minnesota and Ant as like, all right, you guys are willing to like, trade assets to get players who not only could help us win now, but are going to be good down the line type of thing. So I feel like Minnesota is going to be a good place moving forward for Ant. Obviously, they've already had probably the most success they've ever had as a franchise this past season, getting to the Western Conference Finals. I know they had done that before with KG, but I feel like as long as they can stay like competitive, continue to make the playoffs, I feel like there's no reason for Ant to ask out right now. But who knows? It's tough, like you said. Like when you do achieve that success, you get to the Western Conference Finals and you get a taste for it. I'm sure a guy like Ant is gonna get antsy, and no pun intended. But he's like gonna he's gonna want to start winning again. He's gonna want to start getting back and winning multiple playoff series, try and get to the finals. Obviously, to like help cement his legacy, not only as a Timberwolf, but one of the better players in the league. So it's tough to say, but I think right now I feel like he's going to stay put. But again, anything is possible in this new NBA.
I think I disagree with you, Jory. I said my prediction is I think it's a 75% chance he leaves before 28, 29.
You don't think he's making it through this contract?
What's that?
You don't even think he's making it through this contract?
I don't think so, no.
Dang.
Because here's the deal. Like Jory said, we're in a different NBA than we were 10, 20 years ago. Players now just, they get in one argument with a coach. They want to trade teams. It goes for role players, stars. There's no player loyalty, and there's also no like team loyalty. So it goes both ways. And I just feel like if the Timberwolves continue to be like a 7th, 6th, 5th seed, they don't see any true playoff experience or true playoff success. They don't make the finals, maybe not even the conference finals. I feel like Edwards is the type of player to, he wants to win. I feel like that's his main goal. Like I said before, it shows in his game, like how frustrated he gets with his teammates sometimes and with the referees and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're in a similar position next year, the year after he gets tired. He wants to be on a contending team. Not that I'm saying like they can't get to that next level, but I feel like if they stay, which, could be likely, I could see him, trying to request a trade. And I was thinking about it too. Though. When was the last time the Timberwolves kept a player, like a star player, throughout his entire career? I don't know if it's ever happened. Going all the way back to KG, I can't really think of anybody. Kevin Love, who else? Zach LaVine, Wiggins. Obviously, they were young. They just got rid of Cat. So obviously it's been different managements and GMs and stuff like that. But as much as I think they would like to keep Edwards for his career and, win a couple of chips or whatever, I feel like it's more likely that he goes. And I'm saying I think it's going to be before 28, 29, before his contract's up.
I partially agree with you, Toby. I think if they really continue to just get worse, like if they're next year, if they're still a play-in, and then the year after somehow they miss the playoffs, if they miss the play-in at any point, I think literally that offseason he asks for a trade. But I don't know. Part of me thinks he'll at least get through this contract because he'll only be 27. He'll be, right in the middle of his prime. He might be, at least to me, he strikes me as the type of guy who's going to do what's best for him regardless. Like, I don't want to get into all his personal life, but when he was having that baby and he was like send a money or whatever he said, like he was really looking out for him, bro. He was really just looking out for him. So, I think I highly doubt he stays in Minnesota his whole career. Like I think there's almost a 0% chance of that happening just because even in Minnesota, he's one of like the biggest personalities in the league. He's got, shoe deal, commercials, people know about him. Like people know about Anthony Edwards. So, sooner or later, I think he's going to want to go to a big market team. And, with this team, with this Timberwolves team specifically, I don't think they'll get back to the Western Conference Finals anytime soon. Now that Julius Randle's not a Knick, I can be completely unbiased. That guy is a total clown, bro. They gotta move on from that guy if they want to be successful. They
Wow.
should ship him
Whoa.
over to Sacramento. They should ship him over to Sacramento and be like, bro, you could just take him and we'll still give you a full deal for that guy Fox. You can just have him.
Okay.
Geez, that's harsh.
I mean, bro, he's even worse on the Timberwolves than he was with the Knicks. With the like any normal person just picks up their dribble and passes it out. This guy will dribble that whole 24-second shot clock, put up some bogus shot, and then walk down the court and complain like it was somebody else's fault. I don't think I really might be a Julius Randle hater now that he's not on the Knicks, bro. But to a losing team, a team that's has nothing to lose, trade him to the Bulls for Zach LaVine, trade him to the Pelicans for Brandon Ingram, trade him to the Kings for De'Aaron Fox. Like you send him, there's plenty of teams that got nothing to lose, that got players that want out, want to go win. I think if you can pair another star with Ant, because I don't know if you call Julius Randle a star at this point. If you can come like a full blown bona fide star with Anthony Edwards, I think they could probably make some noise. Maybe not this season, but next season, kind of like a Dame and Giannis deal. Like took them a whole season to kind of get acclimated. So, yeah, I don't know. With him being on the Timberwolves small market team, and with Anthony Edwards just being the star, the personality that he is, I don't think he stays in Minnesota his whole career. But even more, yeah, a team with even more problems than the Timberwolves right now, staying out west. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are a joke, man. At least to me, I think they're a total joke. Um, a report came out just over the weekend on Sunday from ESPN stating that the Phoenix Suns big man Yusuf Nurkic does not have any type of relationship with head coach Mike Budenholzer. Um, he said he has not spoken to Budenholzer in over 2 months, and he was moved to the bench for Mason Plumlee and has not played in a game, not played at all, not even a minute since January 7th. The Suns also just traded for ex-Hornets center Nick Richards. So it looks like at least Nurkic is definitely on the way out. But the deadline's coming up. The Jimmy Butler rumors have been running rampant. Bradley Beal waived his no trade clause. And like I just said, Nurkic is unhappy with his benching. Suns can really do whatever at this point. They have a star in Bradley Beal. They have Nurkic, who's a starting center. They got pieces that they can move around, and it's obviously the big name is Jimmy Butler. So if you were Suns GM James Jones, what are you guys doing at the deadline?
I mean, like you said, I think the big name right now that's swirling around is Jimmy Butler. But to me, I don't even know if the Suns are going to be able to like pull that off, even if they got some other teams involved. I know they just traded a future first round pick in like 2031, I believe, for 3 firsts with the Utah Jazz, like picks from like Cleveland and Minnesota, I think, from the trades that sent Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. But again, I don't know if that's enough of like an asset for a team to take on, maybe a contract like Bradley Beal, like you said, who's making a ton of money. I think right now this is a win now roster. Obviously, Kevin Durant, he's not getting any younger. And Devin Booker, I think he's like in the middle of his prime, and I'm not saying he's, aging out or anything, but like, again, he's the same way. It's not like he's getting any younger. And this team has championship aspirations. I really don't even know like where this team, like deficiency wise, like what this team really needs. I think just toughness is something that this team could use. I think offensively, when you have KD and Booker, not to say that's enough, but I think that's like a good base for what, to start, I guess. You're going to be able to put up some points with those two on the floor when they're playing. But I think, again, where they struggle, I think it's why they brought in Nick Richards to come in, get some rebounds, block some shots, play some defense. I feel like they just lack a lot of guys like that on this roster. Like Yusuf Nurkic, like he's not really making a huge impact defensively. He's a center who's obviously a big bruising center. He can get some rebounds, but like I wouldn't say he's like the best rebounding center in the league. He's not like the most physical center in the league. They were playing Mason Plumlee. They were starting Mason Plumlee at one point in this season because they didn't even like what they were seeing from Nurkic. They started Ryan Dunn a handful of games, who's like a rookie who's been, I think he's a solid player for them, but I don't know if he's, has like a crazy high potential or anything like that. I feel like those are moves to, again, get some like energy on the floor for this team that really lacks that. So I'm not saying that the Suns' issues are like unsolvable, but I just don't really know what they can do at the deadline, like this season at least, to really, change their fortunes around and get back to like title contention. I feel like that's kind of more of like an off-season thing, but again, I don't even know really what they have to work with salary or cap space wise in the off-season. So it's Phoenix, it's not looking good. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, it might come down to moving on from Durant for him getting to another team for I don't know. I feel like it could come down to that. Because I don't know if you want to get rid of Booker at this point, but I feel like at the end of the day, Durant might be the trade chip there instead of Beal. Because again, not to say Beal's, washed goods or anything, damaged goods, but again, I don't know what team is really looking for a, 30-year-old shooting guard who hasn't really had a good season in a handful of years. Hasn't looked great since he's come to Phoenix. So it's tough, man. It's very tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know how the Suns can kind of turn the ship around this year. I mean, they did go 8-2 in their last 10 games, but I looked at their schedule and their teams are kind of light. They're all NBA teams, but you know what I mean. Obviously, I think they have to get rid of Nurkic. I think that's a no-brainer. I mean, you can't have somebody like that in the locker room and on a winning team, or if you're trying to compete. So with that being said, again, I'm just throwing things out there. Like Jorie said, I don't know what they can do as far as cap space goes and draft picks and all that kind of stuff. But if they're not able to land a player like Jimmy Butler, maybe they go after somebody like Zach LaVine, bring him to the team. Or if they're looking for bigs, maybe they make a splash and go for Zion Williamson. Or I was thinking maybe get a player like Nick Claxton, make a little trade with the Nets again. I feel like somebody like that, he could, he'll play defense for them. He'll fit in like no problem. He doesn't really shoot set picks and stuff like that. But I don't really see the Suns getting better. I feel like they're going to get rid of Beal and Nurkic. They're going to have to figure out how to play again. So, like Jory said, I think this is more of like a trying to figure out how to compete is more of an off-season kind of thing. I think they're probably just trying to get through the season, figure out what they want to do long term with KD and Devin Booker and all them, and hopefully improve next season. But anything could happen in the trade deadline. Maybe they land Jimmy, they start winning, and then they're going to be a tough out in playoffs. That could happen too. So it's going to be interesting to see. I do think they're going to make a big trade soon. Obviously, trade deadline's coming up, but what that trade will be, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I might have been a little bit too harsh, on this little intro to this segment, but yeah, I don't know. Like, you can't have all this star power and barely be 500. Like, the bench is all right. It's not like all bums, but nothing really catches your eye. Like, they don't have anybody who's going to come off the bench and for a fact they're giving you 15 a night. Like, they don't have anybody who's, even close to six-man contention. So, I don't know. I feel like right now, the only thing that they can do if they really want Jimmy, if like Jimmy has decided what they go to decide to do, you got to get rid of Beal because you can't be paying all those people. And Bradley Beal had said that if he gets traded, the Heat is one of his destinations he wants to go to. And I think to an extent that would be a win-win trade. You get Nurkic and Beal with the roster you already have in Miami. That's still a play-in team. And then Phoenix gets what they want and they get that toughness, like you said, Jory, they get that toughness from Jimmy Butler which based on what's been going on recently, you might question that toughness. But you know, if Jimmy's what they decide to do, I think they have to win it all. Like if you're really going this hard for Jimmy Butler, like you definitely have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in that front office. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, like get her done, or we're like, if we aren't getting Jimmy, what are we doing? So I feel like, your two stars are kind of getting a little impatient from what it sounds like. And, that guy KD, he'll jump ship as soon as things get tough anyway. He's just like Jimmy Butler. So um I think they gotta win it all if they do go for Jimmy. And if they don't win, if they trade for Jimmy and it takes more than 3 years to win, because the window's getting tight, like you said, Jory, Jimmy Butler and KD, they're getting up there in age. I think they have 3 years to win it all, and if they don't, you got to fire every person in that front office. You got to fire every coach. You got to completely restart.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I feel like I don't know. They just don't really have much of a future, and I think we're like witnessing right now, like what we are with Jimmy Butler, and the reason why I'm thinking like Durant might be time to move on is because you don't want it to get to a point where it's like unsalvageable and Durant is demanding a trade and picking the teams that he wants to go to, right? Like obviously, it's hard to justify to ownership or fans. Why did we just trade Durant? Like in the middle of, I don't know. I mean, he might still be in his prime. It's obviously an all-time legend, but like, why are we trading this guy? Like, are we just giving up? Like, what? It's hard to sell that to a bunch of different people, but at the end of the day, it might be best for your organization moving forward. But I liked your idea of buying low on Zion, Toby. I think that's a really interesting because I feel like right now, I feel like his value is maybe at the lowest it's ever been, since he's entered the league. Obviously, he's dealt with a ton of injuries, but that might be the type of player that could, you could bring in and really revitalize this franchise. Maybe move forward with like him and Booker kind of as the tandem there. And hopefully, he can stay on the floor, but that would definitely be a really interesting move if they could pull that off.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know how they would do it, but that would be sick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I should have did my due diligence, did a little bit of research. I have no clue what kind of, draft picks the Suns are rocking with. So if they can get a Zion trade done, bro, that would be pretty exciting. But to your point, though, Jory, I don't know if trading Kevin Durant would be the move because, in my opinion, this guy, Kevin Durant, he's always going back and forth with fans on social media. Things got tough in Brooklyn. He was out of there 2 years, 3 years. Um, Guy got in one argument with Draymond. He left the Warriors, but he's just like mysterious, that guy, Kevin Durant. Like you never know what's going on with that guy, but he's giving me the vibe right now like he's just coasting, like he's really just coasting, waiting for the playoffs, and then he's like, come on, man, I'm Kevin Durant, y'all know who I am. He's gonna hit us with one of those, and I don't know, he might sneak these guys into maybe the Western Conference Finals, dude. I mean, at least with me, I can't tell with the Western Conference. It's so stacked. The two teams at the top, the Thunder and the Rockets, they're really young, like, veteran experience, you know, tends to beat young talent a lot, especially in the NBA playoffs. So I don't know, man. Like Kevin Durant and Booker, they know what it takes to win at the highest level. They've done it. They did it in the Olympics. Devin Booker was in a finals. Kevin Durant's won in the finals. So I don't know, man. I feel like these guys might just be coasting just to see what happens, trade deadline or off season. But I don't know. I'm still like I've done it literally in this segment. I flip-flopped on the Suns. I was saying they're a joke, but now I'm saying that they might be able to win. So you just they're all these Western Conference teams are just in such a weird spot, bro.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. Uh, I looked it up. The Suns, I don't think they have a first round pick of their own, at least until 2032, I believe. So it's gonna be a while until they like I said, they just traded for like 3 future firsts between Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota. But again, a lot of those picks probably aren't going to be very good.
Yeah.
So
And I know the Nets got a few of those picks. That's for sure.
yeah,
Excited
so
about that.
it's not looking great in Phoenix, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. This trade deadline next week.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait. That's gonna be a fun time. But real quick, right last thing before we end the episode, I forgot to do this earlier when we were talking about Kobe. Um Kobe's, he's generally universally considered as a top 10 player all time. Just real quick, wrap up the episode. Give me your top 10 players all time. If you can give them to me in order, that'd be nice. But if not, list them off.
Okay, well, um, I'll give you my top 5 in order, and then after that, it's hard to say. But I think in order, we got number 1, the GOAT, Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Number 2, LeBron. Number 3, Kareem. Number 4, Magic. Number 5, Larry Legend.
Really?
After that, it's a toss-up. But to me, I think I might go off the rails and say I'm not factoring in titles won when I make this list, because I feel like sometimes the argument of who won the most championships kind of is a little overblown. It's a team thing. Not always, the best player doesn't always win the most titles. Obviously, the best player impacts, winning, but it's not always up to one person. So in my opinion, again, no particular order, but the other 5 players I genuinely believe are the best of all time: Hakeem, Shaq, Kevin Garnett, Wilt Chamberlain, and ready for this? Jokic.
Wow. Wow.
And argue with a brick wall, because I'm here. I'm here with it. I don't think we understand what we're witnessing right now. I'll give you one stat to why I think Jokic is the top 10 guy. His box plus minus. The analytics. You're an analytic nerd. Shut up. No one cares. But anyway, box plus minus, essentially, like, it's, if, the average box plus minus is 0. The average box plus minus is 0. So if you come into the game, it's 0. So it's just how much, like, what is the point total average that you impact? Like, how many more points are you scoring, I guess, when you're on the floor, as opposed to when your team is, when you're not on the floor, essentially. And, you see that in the box scores for individual games, and sometimes it's, minus 10, sometimes it's plus 10. An individual box plus minus is, like, for single games, is not always the best marker, right? Because teams go on runs and whatever. But over the course of a season, it's really indicative of, like, how much a team or how much of a player is making an impact. This season, Jokic has the highest box plus minus of all time at 14.2. He's also has the 2nd, 4th, and 5th highest box plus minus of all time. 3rd is LeBron in 08-09, and 6th was Jordan in 87-88. Both of those seasons, they won MVP. And a lot of people think that 08-09 season was LeBron's best season. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can go down that list. You can see it's literally all the best seasons basically of all time. Like, it's Steph's 2015-16 season is up there. Giannis's MVP seasons. Like I said, Jokic has 4 of the top 5 all-time box plus minus seasons over the last, like, 4 or 5 years. And he's on his way to potentially winning a 4th MVP. Not to mention he's averaging a 30-point triple-double right now. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Am I crazy? But I feel like he literally does not have, at least offensively, any deficiencies. I think he's starting to prove that he literally has nothing he can't do. He's literally leading the NBA in 3-point shooting, I'm pretty sure, right now. Like I said, averaging a triple-double. He might be the best passer in the league. And his, finishing is obviously off the charts. Every season he's shooting about 60% from the field. Great mid-range shooter, great post player, great touch, outlet passes, elbow, pick and roll player. Whatever you need, he can do. Defensively, that's a different conversation. But I feel like the impact he makes offensively is really second to none that we may have ever seen.
I mean, you make a great argument, Jory. You really do. You really do. But you know what? I'll let you go, Toby. I'll let you go, and then I'll share what I have to say.
All right, that was a good argument, but I'm not buying it. So wait, real quick, just a couple quick questions for Jory. So you didn't have Tim Duncan in your top 10?
I did not.
You didn't have Bill Russell in your top 10?
I told you the titles. You take 11 titles away. He might be the best defender, but again, in an era where there was 12 teams.
Did I miss something? You didn't say Kobe either.
I did not say Kobe, no.
whole segment on Kobe. Guy doesn't even put him in.
All right, well that's his list, so he's entitled to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You do your thing, Jory.
My list is looking a little different, and I tried my best to do top 10, like 1 through 10. Um, it's all about how you're feeling at the time. So maybe in a year from now, some players will be higher than others. To start off my top 10, I have at number 1, Michael Jordan, the GOAT. I got Michael Jordan, winner, GOAT. Number 2, I have LeBron James. I can't deny the greatness anymore. Number 3, I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the longevity, the championships. Number 4, I got Magic Johnson. So I started off exactly like Jory, but this is where we get a little different. Number 5, I have Wilt Chamberlain. I know a lot of people say he played in an era with different rules. He played against plumbers and firemen and stuff like that. I hate that argument. It's my least favorite argument in sports. I mean, the players from this era, they made the game. Without these players, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are today. So I don't take like a player from the past and say like, oh, he wouldn't be able to play nowadays type of thing. Like, that's just not the way I look at it. So I got Wilt at 5, 100-point game. He averaged 50, just insane numbers. Number 6, I have, this might be a little controversial, but I got Bill Russell at number 6. The championships, I know there was a lot less teams in the NBA back then, but the championships speak for themselves. He was the first winner in basketball, the first GOAT, the OG. So I'm going with Bill Russell. Number 7, I got Kobe Bryant. I know he passed away. I don't use any bias or anything like that. I think he's number 7. Very close to Jordan in terms of how they played, but whatever. Number 8, I got Larry Bird, Celtic legend. I don't know why Justin's making that face when Jory had Larry Bird top 5. I got Larry Bird at 8. I got Tim Duncan at 9. And then to round off the list, I got Shaq Diesel at 10.
Okay. All right. So first of all, Jory, you do make a good argument with Jokic, but the lack of defense and him only having 1 ring are my reasons why he doesn't crack probably even the top 15. Because at least for me, the way I gauged this list was like how good you were individually, but then also were you the best player on the championship winning teams? I think you gotta be able to get a bucket, but like if you're the best player on the best team winning 5 championships, like I think that means a lot to me at least. So it's just I don't know why I'm giving you guys those looks for Larry Bird, but I don't know if Larry Bird is a top 10 player still.
He is. You're tripping.
How many rings did that guy win? 3?
Yeah,
I
against
mean,
Magic and the Lakers.
yeah, but Magic's got 5.
Magic had Kareem, third best player of all time.
I feel
if
like
Larry
don't
played
know.
with Kareem.
I also feel like, it's weird because we say, oh, players wouldn't have been able to play in a different, like, previous era. I feel like if Bird played in today's era, he would have been even better because he was like a 6'8", 6'9", sharp shooting forward who could pass. And so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a team would have been able to build around him. And I'm not saying he would have won as many championships, but I think individually he could have been even better. And he was obviously already an incredible talent.
Yeah, no, I mean, that whole argument of, can today's players play in the past and could the past players play today? Like I think in both ways they can, but they can't. Like we can't go back in time and bring Larry Bird into 2025. We can't put Wemby in 1960. Like we can't do it. So we got to take, each era and each player for what they are. And with all that being said, I have my top 10, and I feel like I've had this top 10 for a pretty decent amount of time. Some of the players swap depending on like what you said, Toby, just how I'm feeling when I make the list, how it goes. But one, I hate to say it, but I have Michael Jordan at number one.
Yes,
I got Bron,
yes.
I got Bron at two.
3 for 3.
I got Magic at three and Kareem at four. And then I have Kobe at five and Shaq at six. I feel like those two are interchangeable just because they won three championships together and they were both dominant. Like Kobe might not have been 300 pounds, but he was dominant. Seven, I have Hakeem. Eight, I have Tim Duncan. Nine, I have Wilt. And 10, I have Bill Russell.
All right. I like that list. I like it a lot.
I kind of am one of those guys, Toby, who kind of takes the 60s and the 70s for granted because you were playing against crackheads and plumbers, Toby. Like,
No.
come on, bro.
Oh god. Jeez.
But like Bill Russell, he's got 11 rings. Like that's crazy. Like that's crazy. He definitely deserves respect for that. Wilt was like the OG glitch. Like he was the OG demigod. Tim Duncan, just it's Timmy D, bro, the big fundamental. Like guy won five rings. Hakeem, probably the best defender in NBA history, in my opinion. And everybody knows about all these players. You know what they are, what they're about, all that stuff. It's just how you view who the GOAT is, right? That's really all it is. Like it's just how you view how how you rank the players. If championships matter, if it's just individual skill. But that's all I got for you, gentlemen. Anybody got anything they want to say?
Fly, Eagles,
Oh,
fly.
oh god. Yeah, let's end the pod now. Oh
Yeah,
jeez.
honestly. Nah, go Chiefs, go Taylor Swift. I want another banger album after your husband wins the game. But yeah, you know what, Jory, thanks for letting me take over today. This was kind of fun. I really like this, dude. This is kind of fun.
Nice job. Well done.
Yeah,
Shout
thank
out
you, sir.
shout out to Mr. Sadovi today. Getting
Yes,
it
sir.
done.
Yes, sir. Um, yeah, that's all we got, folks. You know the drill. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on X, subscribe, like, comment. You know the drill. And we'll be seeing you. Till next time.